What is going on, guys? Jason Burke here, Styles Clash for Life, coming at you on YouTube, and today I've got some football focus. Over the next couple of weeks and months ahead, coming into the NFL offseason, I want to talk about all the different things that the Steelers need. I want to talk about our draft needs. I want to discuss our free agency needs. I want to discuss the areas we need the most improvement. I want to discuss who we should be re-signing in free agency, who we should go after in free agency. I'm going to cover all of those things going forward, so I wanted to pick apart kind of individual needs and questions we have in this offseason that's going to form the future for the Steelers. Now, when you think about next season, one of the first questions that comes to mind is, what are we doing at quarterback next season? Our fearless leader, Ben Roethlisberger, after 18 seasons, our franchise quarterback, our probably greatest quarterback of all time in franchise history, is no longer with us, which means we have a lot of questions as far as who's playing quarterback next season. So I wanted to tackle that video first of all for my Steelers offseason coverage, and I've written down all the possibilities and kind of what I think of them as far as like fit, likelihood, stuff like that. So I've got about 10 names here. I wanted to just break down the possibilities, whether they're like legit or not, and kind of whether they would be a really good fit for the Steelers and who I want to see kind of take that role. Now, the first three names are the quarterbacks we kind of have on our roster right now, and that seems like a pretty fairly high likelihood. Mike Tomlin seems to like these guys, especially the guy he's been backing for a couple of years now as the incumbent. So the first name I come to is Mason Rudolph. You guys know my thoughts on Mason Rudolph. You watch my videos for any length of time, you know that I do not believe in Mason Rudolph one bit. I wasn't big on him coming out of college. I've not seen him in the NFL have any growth. He's played in preseason. He doesn't do a whole lot as far as improving his status, as far as reading pass coverage and stuff like that. He played for an entire season or half a season. When Ben got injured, he got replaced by an undrafted fourth-string free agent in Duck Hodges because he was killing us. And then he came back in for Duck when the Duck thing failed, and he didn't do much better. And then he came in and started one game last year when Ben didn't play, and that was a tie to the Lions, which could have cost us our season. So in my opinion, Mason Rudolph is not the guy. He's not shown growth. He's not shown development as far as his eyes, his decision-making, his reading the play, his throwing in patterns downfield. The only thing he's shown that he can do is throw the 50-50 deep ball down the sidelines and hoping that Claypool or Deontay Johnson or James Washington goes to get it. So aside from throwing it up down the sidelines one-on-one, he's not shown much to me about being our starter. I don't think he handles pressure well. I think he has happy feet in the pocket. I don't think he's a very good quarterback as far as mobility and agility. I don't think his eyes have gotten any better. So to me, Mason's not the guy, but he is a potentially likely candidate to start next season because Mike Tomlin seems to like him, and we don't have a better, more experienced option on our roster. Or do we currently? Dwayne Haskins. I think Haskins is the best of the three guys currently on our roster. He was drafted in the first round, top 15 pick by Washington. It was a bad fit. He was immature. The times have changed now. He's on a better team. He's kind of matured a little bit, maybe. We've seen some good things in him out of camp and practice. I thought he had the best preseason last year. I thought he gave us the best chance to win. He was the only quarterback that led us on any scoring drives. I think he led 4 different scoring drives in the preseason. So while he has not blown us away, he has shown personal growth, and he's been the best of the quarterbacks we have on this roster. Do I think he is our best option in the whole group for starter next season? I don't, but I think of the 3 guys we currently have, he's our best option. He's going to be on the roster next year. Mason kind of, I think Mason's in like an option year, so it's up to them. I would not re-sign Mason personally. I'd let him go. But of course, that depends on what we get in the offseason as far as quarterbacks in the draft and free agency. Then we have Josh Dobbs. He did not make our roster to start last season. So when he was put on injured reserve, he could not return. So he did not play whatsoever for us last year. I like Josh Dobbs. He obviously is the guy Ben would always go to on the sidelines with his clipboard. The guy's an actual doctor. He's highly intelligent. He knows how to analyze the field. He showed a lot of growth, in my opinion, from being in Jacksonville and returning back to Pittsburgh. He had that good Ravens game, those couple of drives that he played. I like Dobbs. I think he's a good veteran backup. I think he's intelligent. But he's not, I don't think he is a good starter for us next year. And I don't think he is a guy that I would trust to lead a team for multiple games if we had to. But I like Dobbs on the roster, and I hope he gets a spot maybe as that second or third quarterback, preferably down the line. As far as so obviously if we go with somebody on our roster, I hope it's Haskins, but I still don't like our chances to be more than an 8 or 9 win team with any of these 3 guys. Rookies, we're drafting, I think, at number 20. So this is not the draft to reach on a quarterback, in my opinion. There are 4 quarterbacks that are being talked about as potential first-round players and guys we've looked at. Again, this is not the year to draft a quarterback. I think Pittsburgh has so many other needs, especially offensive line. In the spot we're drafting in, we can afford to draft outside of offensive line because this is a very deep offensive line class this year. So we can afford to draft in the second or third and fourth to get pretty good offensive linemen, or we can trade down and draft more players because we need a lot of depth and backup pieces this year. We're a very shallow team with a lot of injuries that we have to address. So quarterback is not necessarily our top concern, but we have to get somebody else on this roster, whether it be through the draft or free agency, if we're going to contend next year, in my opinion. The 4 guys we've been looking at and have been talked about as first-round picks. Kenny Pickett out of Pitt. Obviously, it's a nice sounding fit, right? He's a hometown guy. He's beloved. He's got good legs. He's athletic. He's been Pitt's best quarterback for a long time. I like Pickett. I think he's the second best quarterback in this draft, but he's a little bit overrated, and I think he's going to be the first drafted quarterback in this draft. He has a lot of hype behind him. And again, while he's not a bad fit for us because we're trying to go with a more mobile quarterback coming up here, I think we have to evolve with the times and seeing what Joe Burrow and especially Lamar Jackson have done for our division. Kenny Pickett's not a bad fit, but he's not the perfect fit, and he's going to go a little higher than 20, in my opinion. Somebody in that 12 to 17 range is going to reach and is going to take Pickett. So I don't think he goes to Pittsburgh. It sounds nice and all, but I don't see it happening. Matt Corral, he's my personal favorite quarterback in this draft. I like Corral a lot. He's strong. He finishes his runs. He's good to get outside the pocket and run on those short downs and goal lines, which we like. He's very physical. He's a strong-arm quarterback. He's the best pattern analyzing quarterback this year out of the draft. When I say that, I mean guy that can throw the out routes and throw the in and outs and do different stuff besides just your regular deep bombs like a lot of these quarterbacks do. I think Corral's got the strongest arm for diversity of patterns, which we have guys like Deontay Johnson who can run pretty good patterns. So I think Corral's got the most accurate arm for the depth of things you want to throw, and I think Corral's the strongest, and he's underrated athletically. He's not quite as fast as Pickett, but I think he's more sudden, and I think he's a stronger play finisher than Pickett. The one thing about Pickett that hurts his stock is he got severely injured in the bowl game this year, the bowl game the Ole Miss played, and he didn't come back. That, though, might make Corral fall out of the 12 to 17 range that Pickett's in and fall down to 20 where he would be sitting for us. Now, if you want to start a veteran quarterback for a couple of games and make sure Corral's healthy and he can learn for 4 or 5 games and then put a rookie in there, Corral would be a good guy. As long as he comes out healthy, I think Corral is a really good fit for us. Corral has a bit of Ben Roethlisberger in him. He can absorb hits, he can bounce off guys, he's strong, and he has a strong arm. I think he fits the Steelers about as well as anybody else I talk about today. Then we talk about Sam Howe from UNC, North Carolina. I don't see a ton of things in him. He does make plays. He has a quick first step, but he's not as good a runner as Corral or Pickett. And I don't think his arm is quite as good either. He's one of those guys that kind of reminds me of Mason Rudolph. You know, he can move a little bit, but not too much, and he can throw the ball down the field, but mostly in those deep ball situations. I don't see him doing a lot of pattern throwing and kind of diversity in his arm. I don't see a lot of touch passes. I don't see a lot of dropping passes in. I see him just doing a lot of what Mason Rudolph does. So I don't really think that Sam Howe fits us. Personally, I don't like that pick. And Malik Willis. We've heard a lot about the Steelers going to watch Malik Willis in practice and stuff like that. He's the best athlete of the 4 in this draft. He's the best running quarterback. But again, we're looking at more of a one-dimensional guy who's looking to run first and not pass. And we're looking at a guy at Liberty College who played against D3 guys. So I don't like that fit. He reminds me a lot of Lamar Jackson. I say these things in a negative way. He reminds me of Lamar Jackson, but less athletic. And he reminds me of guys like Trey Lance, who, yeah, he had a good arm and he had big stats and he lit things up, but he was playing against guys that are not on the NFL level. Of course you can run for 40 yards backwards and run for a 70-yard streak. Or you can, a lot of these plays he was doing the quarterback option and running down the middle of the field, nobody was in sight. You couldn't find a linebacker or safety on the field in his highlight tapes. In the NFL, you're not going to get plays like that. You don't get breakdowns like that from the NFL-style guys, and their speed is just so high that Malik Willis is not going to seem quite as fast. So I would not draft him either. Then we have the three big veterans everyone's talked about, right? The three big great fits for us, right? Aaron Rodgers out of Green Bay, Russell Wilson out of Seattle, and Deshaun Watson out of Houston. Now, it's going to take a lot to get these guys. I know we have some draft capital this year. I know we have a lot of cap. We have one of the best cap situations in the entire league this year now that Ben is gone. So we could afford to sign somebody big. We could afford to sign and trade as far as draft picks plus money. We could do that. Do we want to? I mean, Aaron Rodgers is just as old as Ben is. Aaron Rodgers only has, 1 or 2 years left. Russell Wilson's only a few years younger, and his body's taken punishment because he came from Seattle in a really bad offensive line situation. So on one hand, he's used to running around like crazy, but does he really want to come to Pittsburgh and run around like crazy here with a bad line? Do you want to mortgage your draft picks for one of these two guys? In Wilson's case, who's banged up and been running for a long time, and Rodgers, who's banged up and older and only has 1 or 2 years left. Do you want to really trade a first round and a third or fourth round draft pick plus money to inherit a contract of a guy that's going to play for us for 2 years max and maybe get hurt? Do you really want to do that? Yeah, Aaron Rodgers makes us a Super Bowl contender. So does Russell Wilson, but do we want to mortgage those things? Of those top-level veterans, Deshaun Watson is my pick for the best fit of the three because Watson's younger. He's got a stronger arm at this point in his career. He's faster. I think Russell Wilson's probably more elusive, but Deshaun Watson is a very underrated running quarterback. Again, he came from Houston with a bad line, so he could deal with our bad line running around trying to extend the play, much like Ben did. He's stronger, I think, than Wilson and Rodgers. He's got a really good arm. I mean, he's an underrated quarterback. The problem is, again, he's taken a lot of punishment in Houston in the brief time that he's been in the league, and he hasn't played for a year now because of all the scandal stuff. Does Pittsburgh want to give up one quarterback with scandals like Roethlisberger back in the mid-2000s to inherit another guy with scandals coming off of allegations? Do you want to deal with that? Do you want to deal with the guy that hasn't played in a full year and toss him right back into the fire with a bad offensive line? That's a question. I think Watson's the best fit, but is he going to come in scandal-free and healthy? We will see. Then we have the second-level guys like Derek Carr and Jimmy G. Jimmy Garoppolo is a really good fit for us. He's one of the guys I would look at. Yeah, he's not going to light up your stat sheet like some of the other guys are. He's not elite level like the other three guys I just said are. But he's a solid passer. He finds a way to win. He's a game manager who's a little bit better than a game manager, if that makes any sense. You give Jimmy G a Najee Harris who can run the ball and pound it, and a good tight end like Freiermuth, and you can see things like Jimmy G just did with George Kittle. You can see possibilities there. You know, he had a Brandon Ayuk and a Deebo Samuel, which reminds you of a Deontay Johnson. You have some guys here Jimmy G could really work with. San Fran doesn't want Jimmy G. They've made it clear they kind of want him out at this point. And they have Trey Lance, who they drafted high. So they got to start him sooner or later, which means we could get Jimmy G for a decent price. If we could get Jimmy G for a fourth-round pick and some cash, that's very worth. He's a much bigger and better name and a more proven winning name than anybody we would get in the draft this year. Anybody else we'd get for a fourth-round pick is not going to be anywhere near as trusted or experienced as Jimmy G, so I like that. Derek Carr is another guy. He might be a little more expensive, but he's putting down numbers in Oakland/Los Angeles, or Las Vegas, I'm sorry. Jimmy G is a talented guy who's done more with less talent. I think Pittsburgh has better talent than Vegas does overall, and I like his numbers. He's going to cost a little more, so is he worth it? I don't know, but he's someone to consider. And then you got the veteran stopgap guys, right? Like Ryan Fitzpatrick, Jacoby Brissett. I like these guys only if we're going to draft a rookie and then bring one of these guys in, right? So if you draft a guy like Matt Corral, Kenny Pickett, if they fall to us, right? Then you want to draft a veteran who could play in case like Corral's not healthy or whatever else. So you bring a veteran in to pair with one of these rookies because these rookies are not special in my opinion. Corral's got the highest upside, but a guy like Corral or Pickett could be really good starting in week 5. You know, you start for a couple weeks with a guy who's an average, decent game manager, can give you some decent numbers, and he won't kill you. A guy like a Fitzpatrick or a Brissett, who could come in and be the starter for 5-6 weeks, get you to 3-3 or 4-2, and then all of a sudden you bring your rookie in and you see what he has. So that could be an option too, drafting Pickett or Corral or even Willis and pairing him with Brissett or Fitzpatrick as the new 1-2. I don't think we'll do that because you know we're keeping Haskins this year and we're probably keeping Mason Rudolph on the roster. So we're not going to bring in 2 quarterbacks. So we're going to have to trust one of these guys to be the guy. But if we're going to stick with Mason and Haskins, do you really want to go with a veteran like Brissett or Fitzpatrick? Because they're about on the same level. Brissett or Fitzpatrick is only 1 or 2 notches above Haskins and maybe 3 notches above Mason Rudolph. So do you really want to have 3 quarterbacks on your roster who are like 7-10, 8-9, 9-8 kind of quarterbacks? They could possibly sneak you in the playoffs, but do you really want to go with those guys in the future for a season or 2 until you can find your real quarterback on the board? So what you really want to do is transition from Ben away from Roethlisberger to the next guy who's going to get you back into the playoffs without missing a beat. So do you want to take 1 season on a veteran guy and see if he can get you to the playoffs while we pick our real guy next year? Do you want to give a Haskins 1 chance to start and see if he can get you there while we're waiting for the next big guy? I personally would like to draft Matt Corral in the first round, but again, that depends on his physicals, if he's healthy or not. If Kenny Pickett falls to us at 20, which I don't think he will, it's doable. It's doable. I wouldn't mind drafting a Pickett and then signing a Brissett as a backup or a Tyrod Taylor as a backup. Those could be decent possible options. The best option for me, I'm looking at if we can afford Deshaun Watson. If not, Jimmy G. If not, Derek Carr. One of those 3 guys. Obviously, if we get the option to trade for Aaron Rodgers, of course, why wouldn't you trade for a Hall of Famer who's still active, who played great this year? But I think our best, most reliable possible options fall Jimmy G at 1, Derek Carr at 2, Deshaun Watson at 3. The others don't seem quite as likely. And then nextly, at like the 4 and 5 option, I would look at Corral and Pickett with a veteran backup. But it wouldn't be Mason Rudolph, and I don't think Haskins is the guy, and I don't think a short-term solution makes sense. So what do you guys think? Analyze these picks for me in the comments down below. Did I miss a rookie that has potential? Am I underrating these rookies in this draft? And is there a free agent that I forgot about that you think fits Pittsburgh? Please like, share, and subscribe. Tell me in the comments below what you think. Share this video and come back for future things because I have free agency, I have the draft, I have other positions to break down this year. What do you guys think? I'll see you guys soon. Go Steelers.